Well, it's safe to say we love Gran and Pops for their home-cooked meals, cups of tea and unconditional love. But according to new research, they're also proving beneficial to our bank balances. A new report from McCrindle Research has found that Australia is heading into a grandparent economy, a term highlighting the significant financial contributions made by baby boomers.
That's right. So 13% of people say they have received inheritance from their grandparents. 11% are living with them either for free or at a reduced rent, while that same number of parents are enlisting their help for childcare. So, what are the benefits and what happens when it all backfires?
For more, we welcome back financial commentator Betsy Westcott. Hi, Betsy. Lovely to see you. Is it a bad thing that modern families are relying on, their parents and their grandparents for financial stability?
Well, I think families helping each other out is never a bad thing, but it does point to a slightly more concerning social trend, which is talking about the intergenerational wealth gap. For those that are seeking financial assistance from their parents, what this is really being driven by is the recognition that it is so much more expensive to get a university education, something that was largely free for baby boomers, to raise kids and to buy a home. And so if those grandparents want to keep their families close to them, they're recognising that they need to chip in and help out in order to keep them close to home.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The disparity between the generations it seems to be getting bigger. So how much is the grandparent economy worth? Is there a figure on that?
Well, it's really hard to say. So we know that baby boomers make up 21% of the population and hold almost 50% of the wealth. But this contribution that they're making financially is largely undocumented. We have some information around the bank of mum and dad, the bank of nan and pops in terms of home ownership. But in terms of that caring and living rent-free, that's undocumented. But if you think about an individual family who is sending a child to daycare 5 days a week, that costs about $25,000 after the childcare subsidy. So the grandparent is saving the family that. But let's not forget, they're also saving the taxpayer the cost of the childcare subsidy, which is about $10,000 to $15,000. So $35,000 to $40,000 for 5 days of care is what they're contributing in one example.
Wow, is this a new phenomenon, or are we just sort of catching up to the rest of the world with this?
Yeah, so for anyone who comes from maybe an Asian, Middle Eastern or even a European background, they might be wondering what we're all going on about because, yeah, this is something that we're just catching up with. It is quite prevalent around the world. But if we think about the boomer generation, only 2% of them received financial help from their grandparents, and that's now increased to 16% for Gen Z, an 8-fold increase. So it is a huge shift socially.
Yeah.
They're the unsung heroes, the grandparents of the current economy then, aren't they? So can they claim any financial support or, I guess, perhaps formal caring rebates for the sorts of things that they're providing?
Yeah, not right now. It is absolutely a labour of love for our grandparents. So this is why it's really important that before they offer this assistance, be it caring, be it financial, that they make sure that they have the capacity to do this, both physically, emotionally and financially. So a little bit like what they tell you on the airplane, put on your own oxygen mask first before you help others. Make sure you're not harming your own financial well-being in the process.
Oh, absolutely. How can families navigate this so everyone wins? Because it is tricky. I mean, they might still be working themselves, but having to help out with childcare, etc. So how can we navigate this?
Yeah, it can be a real delicate balance. There's about 6 things that you can do if you want to do this successfully. So the first is open and transparent communication where everyone understands what's expected, what the preferences are and what's going to happen. With those boundaries, make sure you respect them. Respect the autonomy and the agency of both the grandparents and the parents, differences in parenting styles. If you need to, make sure that these agreements are potentially written down. They need to be really clear so everyone knows what's going on and are on the same page. And then be flexible because seasons of life change, don't they? What worked for 12 months might not work at a different point in time because of ages, stages, health and so forth. And of course, no one is obliged to do this for you. So a little bit of appreciation goes a very long way, and make sure you express that regularly when you are getting assistance. And if you're having trouble navigating it, or particularly around any financial support you're providing to a family member, seek professional advice to make sure you're doing that in a way that's really appropriate and safe and optimised for everyone involved.
Okay. All right, before we go, what about people who don't have a helping hand?
Yes,
A lot of people live away from their grandparents or parents.
Yeah, and look, you won't be alone. There'll be a lot of people in this boat. And again, this is pointing to that concerning social trend about the intergenerational wealth gap, where it is just getting a lot harder for people to be able to afford basic life things. No longer is an education or a good job sufficient. So I think as a nation, if we could just pause on that and think around, does this reflect our values? But if you find yourself in that boat, absolutely. First of all, plan and invest early for life's big events. Then think outside the box a little bit. Do you need to live in a capital city? Could you have a better quality of life living further afield? And then find your tribe. There will be people in a similar boat to you, so create your own village of support, band together and share the load.
Okay. Amazing advice, Betsy. Thank you.
Thank you. Obviously on your mind too at the moment.
Yes, very much so.
We came to the right person. Thanks, Betsy.